Right, I am nearing completion on my translation of Oswald Spengler's Urfragen, or Primordial Questions, as I've translated it. And we're going to read it as a class, beginning on December 6th, Saturday, December 6th, at 1 p.m. MST over Zoom, down to, it'll be 9 weeks in this case, down to January 31st. And the book is contained, it's divided into 12 chapters, which of course is deliberate. That's a cosmic number. And the book is really, it's never been translated into English before. I don't know why. It's just as good as Gene Gebser or his earlier work, Decline of the West. And it's his version of the unfolding of consciousness through gradual stages and phases. And there are stages and phases. Don't let the deconstructionists left tell you that there are not. There absolutely are. Everything works in terms of phase changes, stages, and then a sudden catastrophic bifurcation, then a phase change to a new epoch. And I've illustrated the book throughout with Rudolf Steiner blackboard drawings, which, though the two philosophers did not like each other, they're remarkably compatible, as are especially Spengler and Heidegger. Both of them, they're again, Heidegger likes Spengler, but it doesn't appear that Spengler in this book mentions Heidegger twice, one dismissively and the other seems to be somewhat respectful. So Steiner has the universe, or rather the solar system, unfolding in terms of four distinct phases here. And he's got them on the blackboard here as man. The human being comes first in what he calls the Saturn epoch. And these are metaphysical epochs. They're not physical until he gets to that fourth one on the right that's blue, where it says above the circle, Erde. That's the phase of the Kant-Laplace solidifying of everything that's going on in the metaphysical world through these three separate epochs, in which human beings are created in the Saturnian phase, which is followed by the sun phase, in which not only light is created, but also the souls of animals come into being. And then in the moon epoch, plants are added to the chain of being. And then finally we get minerals as everything solidifies. So it tells a tale of the evolution of consciousness. And Spengler is doing the same thing in this book. He begins with the macrocosmic Heraclitean fire, from out of which all things come. And he has this idea that the universe is based on the cosmic tension and polarity, what Heidegger calls in the contributions the interplay between polar opposites, because Heidegger was just as influenced by Heraclitus as Spengler. And Spengler wrote his dissertation on Heraclitus. And indeed may even be tantamount to the reincarnation of Heraclitus, as seems to be the case. And also Gene Gebser, and to some extent Carl Jung, and a little bit of Joseph Campbell and William Irwin Thompson. Those are the two American, and as far as I know, the only two American cultural morphologists. One consciously modeling himself on the Germanic tradition, Campbell, and the other Thompson, not really knowing much about it and sort of naively inventing his own way of approaching cultures as cultural ecologies. In Pacific Shift, he's got 4 different cultural ecologies, which are not cosmic, but they're civilizational. He moves from the riverine to the Mediterranean, oceanic, to the atmospheric Galilean, and then to the biospheric that we're in now with our Pacific Shift. So I would like to do a class at some point, if I can get enough people interested, on William Irwin Thompson, and especially working through that book, Pacific Shift, and the book, his best book, his apotheosis of all his writings, is I think it was 1996 when it came out, Coming into Being, Texts and Artifacts on the Evolution of Consciousness. It's a masterpiece, and Thompson is very neglected. For some reason, he has fallen into abeyance. We'll bring him back, though. He was my mentor. The guy knew his shit. You don't fuck around with Thompson. All right, so we'll go through this chapter by chapter. We'll read a different chapter each week. Some weeks we'll have to double up to make it fit into 9 weeks, 12 chapters into 9 weeks, but that's not a problem. And now in this edition, I've got an extensive commentary in the back that specifically focuses, there's a lot of very long notes that specifically focuses on comparisons between those basic core German philosophers from around the turn of the 19th to the 20th century. The tail end of what Heidegger would say, they're at the tail end of the metaphysical age there, which then after the war The, the World War decimates German philosophy. They don't really produce any more cultural morphologists, with the possible exception of Peter Sloterdijk. But he's doing something a bit different. He has respect for grand meta-narratives, unlike the French. Foucault, and I've got footnotes in here to this effect, being critical of Foucault's dismissal of grand historical meta-narratives. We don't do that anymore, he says. Really? What is going on in the order of things? Looks like a four-stage narrative there to me with his different epistemes. He's got four different stages there, and it's very solipsistically Eurocentric and pretends other civilizations never existed, which is the wonderful irony of colonialization and then decolonialization, where any kind of intellectual grand meta-narratives are regarded as intellectual colonialization. Only a Hindu can teach a class on Hindu philosophy. Fuck you. We're now thinking of global humanity as a global being. And so we need to know about who did what where and what great achievements went on in Indian philosophy, Chinese philosophy, and so forth. It's all humanistic and for everyone. Anyone can teach anyone's tradition. It's not colonialization. So it winds up, ironically, then defeating its own thesis with Eurocentrism, which pretends that we're back again with where Spengler said we were with the Ptolemaic ancient medieval modern narrative there, where the West is the only thing that matters. That's the fucking irony. So, the left's position on all of this is just self-refuting. Not that I'm defending the right or anything ridiculous like that. I'm apolitical. I stay out of it. Politics are irrelevant. I do metaphysics. That's my specialty. When you mix metaphysics and politics, you're in for a disaster, as the 20th century amply demonstrated for us. So to attend class live is $250, or if you just want a subscription to the videos, I can send you them every week, $150 there. And to enroll, contact me at my Gmail, johndavidebert@gmail.com. This is a great book, and I am very excited about it. I can't wait to have a hardback copy in my hands. It's a monster. It's 500, might be 550 pages before I get done with it. And really just one of the great neglected achievements of 20th century philosophy. It was not published until I think 1965. His relatives, especially his sister and her daughter, whom he lived with as a sort of faux wife and faux daughter, the daughter got a PhD, so she knew her stuff, and she helped organize all of his notes. He left behind his outline for the book and all the notes and so forth. And it reads, as you read it, in the 12 chapters, it feels like a complete book. I don't know what's unfinished. It doesn't look unfinished to me. Like Heidegger's Contributions, which was also, and we're going through that right now, which was also published posthumously, and is also written as a series of aphorisms. And an aphorism, of course, is just a short philosophical musing that might not necessarily be connected with the next aphorism, although they are in this book because he organizes each chapter thematically, starting with the Heraclitean fire and then moving to the awakening of consciousness, and then moving to the separation of I from world, and then the question of speaking and thinking, language, and then on to the metaphysics of soul and body. And he has some brilliant stuff in there. Spengler, like Gebser, believed in the paranormal. Most Germans do. Germany did not, unlike France, did not allow city intellect to take over and hijack metaphysical thinking, except possibly in the case of Nietzsche, I suppose, who's more or less the first deconstructionist, but a really good one. Way better than Wittgenstein or Derrida, and way funnier. So then that's where we're at. And at some point, I want to do a titanic course on Peter Sloterdijk's Spheres trilogy, where we just devote 3 semesters, one semester, which is 8 classes, to maybe 9 classes for each of those 3 monstrous volumes, because there's all kinds of great stuff in there. And he had respect for Spengler. Sloterdijk does. He had respect. He's doing something different because he's presupposing Heidegger, and he's coming out of the Heideggerian tradition and combining it with this critical theory school of Adorno and Horkheimer and so forth. So he's not naive about postmodern developments, but there is a lot of metaphysics in Sloterdijk. As he says, metaphysics is applied immunology for a civilization or society, and he goes through all these great ideas about metaphysics as a cultural immune system, which I find very fascinating and is sympathetic to my own thinking in my books. Okay, so that's where we're at. I'll see you guys in class. It'll be a lot of fun.